Reading YouTube. Read a great line years ago that that America is so racist. If you protest racism in America, people think you're protesting America. That there is no way to separate our racist history from America itself. There's a reason for that, because America was built upon a foundation of white nationalism, genocide, and slavery. That's what our nation was built upon. That it was okay to buy and sell humans, that it was okay to wipe out the indigenous populations of this country, enslave them, poison them, strip them of their culture, of their languages. It was okay to do that because all of the white nationalists that showed up from Europe thought it was hunky-dory. And now, in the modern GOP, they are fighting tooth and nail to make sure that the students that are being educated today do not learn the actual history of America, because they are terrified if children learned just how racist our country was and how racist our country is, that those students are going to start looking at their parents and their grandparents. And they're going to say, well, I've never heard you speak out against racism. That must mean that you were one of those folks that at best are okay with the racist status quo, and at worst are perpetuating it, even if you're not doing it overtly. I saw a great commercial years ago where some person got it was a job interview kind of thing. It's a black person handed a resume in, and as soon as the black person left, the person looked at the resume, chuckled, rolled it up, and threw it into a garbage barrel. And a white guy reached in, he pulled it out of the garbage barrel, he flattened it out, and he put it back in front of the desk in front of the other white guy. No words were spoken. But that's what white people have to do. We have to fight it. And you can't fight what you don't understand, which is why the GOP is doing everything they can to make sure our kids will not understand. The problem is that the generation that is attempting to do this, the people who are my generation, the boomers, and those that are from the previous generation, because those folks are still in power in America, may own these, but they don't understand the full ramifications of these. They don't understand that it has allowed an entire generation, 2 generations of children to be raised in a digital world where they can communicate with each other through multiple channels using abbreviations and types of memes that their parents and their grandparents do not understand. So they are literally able to communicate under their parents' noses, and they're passing real information around. Now some of the kids will be raised to be racist just like their parents and grandparents are. And I'm hoping that some of those kids will break out of that and become their own people someday. But a lot of those kids, Gen Z, they aren't racists. They understand that racism is real. They understand that misogyny and homophobia and transphobia are all real. They understand the dangers of capitalism. They understand the dangers of man-made climate change. And no matter how much the GOP is going to try to stamp out all of this knowledge, Gen Z is still passing it around. Do you know how many books out there are free to get your hands on? Project Gutenberg. Go check it out. And many of those books will cover the things that you need to have a proper education. And no number of folks that can try to ban books is ever going to win. Not to mention, it isn't always that difficult to find PDF versions of books on the internet if you look even briefly. So if somebody bans a book, that book should automatically be put onto your reading list. You need to know why they want to ban it. If somebody tries to tell you you can't say gay, say gay. If somebody tries to tell you you can't treat trans people with respect, treat trans people with respect. If somebody says that gay marriage isn't real marriage, say no. It's just marriage, and it is real. It's going to take a billion little stuff like that. But if we do it long enough and often enough, the folks who are currently in power are going to be silenced. Some because they're drowned out or voted out of power, and some because they pass on. We need far younger people in politics. We need people that are going to support the education of our kids. And I say our kids, I don't have kids, because the next generation is America's future. They're the ones that are going to be taking care of us when we're older. And you want them to be open-minded. You want them to have a science-based education. You want them to understand that vaccines work. You want them to understand that consent is real. But the GOP is terrified of these things. They fundamentally don't understand a lot of it. The base, those in charge do, and they're trying to prevent it because they'll lose their grip on power if the next generation doesn't support their bigotry and their prejudice and their discrimination. And they're desperate to hold on to that power. Now, sadly, a lot of the Democrats are willing to just accept the status quo. They won't necessarily be overtly discriminatory or prejudicial or bigoted, but, they're not going to really step up to the plate and say, no, you shouldn't do that. Or it's going to be some, lame speech when they're not going to take any actions to do anything about it. Some will, and occasionally we do make a creep forward, but as the GOP has shown us in the last 12 years, it's not hard to push back. It's not hard for people to lose the rights that were given to them by courts as opposed to by Congress. So we would need to encourage the current folks in Congress to do the right thing, be moral, and make sure our kids are educated and the kids understand that all Americans need to know all of American history, warts and all. And I got to tell you, it's a lot of warts. Lies My Teacher told me and Lies Across America are two books I definitely think everyone in America should read. They're a little bit older now. Some of them have been updated over time. I don't know which editions are. I gave one recently away to somebody, but it was a slightly older version. But it was really nice library grade cover. It was awesome. It was really pretty. Yeah, read those books. They'll help push you in the right direction. Listen to folks in the groups that are being targeted by the GOP. Listen to trans people and gay people. Listen to women who are having their autonomy stripped away from them. Listen to brown people and black people and Asian people. Listen to indigenous people. Listen to non-Christians. They have been telling us for hundreds of years what white nationalism has done to them. And too many of us have just sat there and pretended the words never existed because it was easy. Well, easy time is over, white folks. If you aren't a white nationalist, it's your time to step up to the plate and do your job. And your job is to dismantle the system that folks just like you built. It's not the responsibility of black people to dismantle racism or gay people to dismantle homophobia. They didn't build homophobia. It was the straight folks. It isn't trans people's job to disassemble transphobia. They didn't create transphobia. It was bigoted cisgender folks that did. And no, cisgender is not a slur. Learn some goddamn language. So yeah, we need to do these things. We need to fight these things. And we can't do it without an education. We need a solid base of knowledge to do this on, which is why the GOP is fighting against it so damn hard. So tell the GOP to go screw themselves whenever you get a chance, whenever you get an opportunity. Make sure you point out to everyone who will listen that the GOP is the party of white nationalism. They are the white supremacists. They are the literal fascists. They are following the step-by-step playbook of the real-world Nazi parties. Okay? keep pointing it out. Don't let them back down. Don't let them give you bullshit. Because the reality is, they don't actually have anything they can use to argue against you with. They can throw rhetoric around. They can make parents be terrified. But they have no data. They have no facts. Because those things are based in reality. And the GOP is doing everything in its power to distance themselves as much as possible from reality.